Hello, this video is all about running a dungeon called Zorzula's Rest from this book, The Shattered Obelisk. Now, I've got a few copies of this, and I'm giving this one away. It's going to a user named SomeRandom92. So if you would like a chance to win one of these books, all you need to do is sign up to my newsletter, Start a Quest. That is start-a-quest.com. So here's the chapter about Zorzula's Rest. This is a kind of goblin dungeon. It breaks into 3 zones. Up here on the top level, this is the goblin zone. And then down here on the bottom level, this is kind of a monster zone. And then you have this little bit here. This is the Indigo Sanctum. That's where the boss hangs out. When the players rock up to this dungeon, they are here with the goal of rescuing some captured townfolk. If I zoom in on the Indigo Sanctum, the captured townsfolk are about here. And the big baddie in this dungeon is a psionic goblin named Ruxithid. He looks like this. He's pretty awful. He has a big green gem lodged into his skull like in Diablo 1, and he is communicating with eldritch horrors that he thinks are elder gods. But instead, they're actually just 3 uppity mind flayers in some kind of mind meld situation. So let's enter the dungeon. There are 3 entrances possible here. There is one hidden entrance over here, which leads into this hot spring. There's another hidden entrance over here that leads into the pantry. And then there's the very obvious main doors here. It doesn't really matter which one the players take, but I would say this is the most obvious one, and they get that information for free. But if they want to scout around, give them an investigation check. If they roll insanely well, tell them about all 3. But if they roll just middling well, just tell them about one of them. But if the players do choose to go into this main double door, you have a really important job. There is an insurmountable number of goblins in this building, and if the players try and fight them all, they're just going to lose. However, these goblins aren't necessarily hostile, right? If the players are cool, these goblins are cool. So you need to signal that to the players with an early encounter when they enter in these double doors. And here's how you do it. From a distance, the players see these huge double doors, and there's a single guard with a spear standing out front. But the guard isn't facing outward to where the players are. The guard's facing inward toward the closed doors, and he's yelling something up through the doors. This guy's locked out and he's trying to guess the password. And he's yelling out, is the password apples? And then from inside, the answer comes, no, the password is not apples. Is the password bananas? No, the password is not bananas. This is a silly little puzzle because neither the guard nor the person on the inside actually know the password. But if you say, is this the password? The answer is no. But if you said, I know the password is apples, then the person on the inside would go, oh, is it? Oh, sorry, I didn't know. Yeah, I'll let you in. So let's cover all the goblin areas upstairs. As a reminder, that is all of this. You can treat all of these zones pretty much interchangeably. There's a kitchen over here, there's the boss's quarters over here, there's the mess hall in the middle, this is a toilet area, this is the bunks, and this bit here is a hidden part that the goblins don't know about. It is a hot spring. The reason all these areas seem interchangeable to me is because there's only 3 parts that really matter, 3 points of interest. There's this lift on the left, and it leads downstairs to the monster area. There's this door here that is barricaded. The goblins are scared to go into this room because there are zombies in there. Oh no. And this room over here, where the boss's sleeping quarters are. None of the goblins nor the players are allowed to go in here, because in here is a secret door that leads to a vault with a bunch of good treasure. If the players do head over this direction, then one of the goblins says, hey, nobody's allowed in there, okay? Chill out. Because the players are interacting with these neutral NPCs, this is a really good opportunity to do a little bit of exposition. These goblins, know 5 facts. The first thing the goblins know is that, yeah, they did kidnap the townspeople. And they know that these townspeople are being kept in Ruxithid's inner sanctum, the Indigo Sanctum down below. If they're asked about who Ruxithid is, they say that he's the specialist goblin because he has a shiny head and imaginary friends. They also know that there are other special goblins in this commune. There are these Psi commanders and Psi brawlers, and they've been blessed by Ruxithid's imaginary friends. Plus, we are scared of monsters and we're scared of Ruxithid. And this one is particularly important to highlight because it is my favourite moment in the whole dungeon. They are particularly afraid of this one thing they call the burning machine that rumbles through the caves below. You want to highlight this because it's going to be a peak moment later in the session. Now you may be thinking, oh, but Matt, my players are not going to talk to these goblins, they're going to fight them. Well, if you have murderous players, let's look at what happens. So there are 3 groups of goblins, there, and there. If the players fight any one of these groups, then other groups come to help. If they fight here, then set a 3-round timer. After 3 rounds, these guys come. After 3 more rounds, these guys come. Now, if the players lose this fight, then the goblins will knock them all unconscious, take all of their magical weapons, and then throw them down this hole. Then the players can wake up in this zone here after having a short rest. They wake up with no magical weapons, and they wake up to the sound of one of them being dragged away by monsters either to here or into here. Fun. But if we're in a situation where the players have burnt the friendly bridge with these goblins and you want to offer them an olive branch, a way for them to build trust again, well, remember this door here, this barred door. The goblins are scared of these monsters. So, if the players offer to go in there and kill these monsters, then these goblins will become friendly again. So let us take a look at the monster level. The goal when they get down here is to get to this bit, the Indigo Sanctum, where all the hostages are being held. When they enter this area, they could enter from here or they can enter from here, but they are more likely to enter from here. So that is what we will plan for. And what do you think all this blue stuff is over here? Looks like water, doesn't it? No, for some reason, this is blue lava. The book says if you fall into lava, you take 10d10 damage, which I think sucks. If a player falls into lava, they should just tear up their character sheet. They're done. So with the presumption that we are starting the monster level here, let's look at the shape of this dungeon. It's kind of like a circuit, isn't it? There's a minecart here and it goes all the way around, kind of like that. And then we have some isolated bits. This bit here is isolated, and then this bit here is also isolated. Now these 2 rooms here, 17 and 16, these are both optional treasure rooms. This one has a shrine to a mind flayer god, and this one has a combat with a mutated Otyegg. I really like this combat because this creature is mutated in a way where it has a see-through belly, and the players can see the magical items within it, which I think is super cool. In Z13, they find a bunch of broken down minecarts that the players can repair. If they do repair it and they choose to ride that minecart, it can blast all the way around this circuit. And I am comfortable saying that if they do that and they do it at such speed, and when they choose to dismount, they do so very swiftly, then they can bypass all of the encounters that they roll through. Like the monsters are just too shocked to see the players kick flipping on this minecart through their dungeon. Or if the players choose to go down here to Z14, they encounter a bunch of crystallized mutated Gricks. The reason I like this encounter is because they've already encountered Gricks earlier. They fought some Gricks in the Cragmore Castle. And this is a good indicator of saying, look at this familiar stat block that you've already met before, and look how funky it's getting with all this eldritch nonsense. So I think that's a worthwhile encounter as well. But there is a shameful thing here. Z18 has my favourite encounter so far. It is with this thing, the Fiendish Augur. This creature is ancient mining equipment that has been cursed and possessed by an evil spirit. And it is so cool. Of course, this thing has a burrowing speed, so it can just blast through walls. It also has a charge attack, so it backs up and then tries to run you over. It was really fun to run in combat. I really enjoyed it, and I want this to be a special moment. I don't want this just to be a thing that is parked in this abandoned storage zone. No, I want it to be a roaming threat. So let's say, yes, this creature starts in the abandoned storage area. However, if the players do anything super loud over here or over here or over here, this thing starts to slowly roam through the dungeon, looking for the source of the noise. If it needs to, it blasts through a wall to get to them. But you need to kind of threaten them with it. I think a really fun way to make this threat and the encounter with the Fiendish Augur special would be to have dynamic lighting effects as the creature approaches, invisible from around the corner, and they just see the orange light, the glow, creeping around on the digital tabletop with your dynamic lighting. And if you want to achieve this effect in person, you should use this week's sponsor, Arkenforge. Arkenforge is digital tabletop software, but it's not designed for digital play online. It's designed for in-person play with your mates around the table. I first met these guys at PAX years and years ago, and we played on stage together. In fact, in their promo video, look, that's me, there's Ben Byrne, there's Dale, there's Lou Boffin, and we all played on stage together at PAX, and it was it was stressful for me. I'm not built for the stage. But the Arkenforge software was super impressive. They had this awesome thing where, like, because we were playing on this massive touch screen, we were playing with physical miniatures that we were moving around the table. And when we would move our miniatures on the table, it would reveal the map as we went. It could tell where our miniatures were, and it updated the screen as we went. The wow factor of this software is super impressive, and you can try it out for free. They've just done a massive update. So you go to arkenforge.com by following the link downstairs. You scroll down here, you click free trial, you make an account, and then you can enjoy this great map making software. But eventually the players will reach Z15, the strip mine. This is a really steep, rocky area, and there are a bunch of ashen whites here. There are feral ones, which are like mindless, dangerous zombies just waiting to be activated, and there are psionic ones that retain their intelligence. This area had one of my favorite scenes of our campaign. The book says when the players approach these ashen whites that they will let them through and help them if the players give them a bribe or convince them. But the bribe's only 50 gold pieces. And I'm thinking, that is not a lot of money. So we had a scene where one of these ashen whites says, "Stop, mortal. I cannot let you through unless you pay a bribe, a toll, a tithe that would bankrupt even kings. You surely cannot afford this price." And the players are going, "Oh no, how much is it?" And the ashen white goes, 50 gold pieces. Oh, that's fine. Wait, no, is 50 gold pieces still a lot of money? What's the inflation rate at? No, it's still a lot of money. Yeah, 50 gold pieces. That's, oh no, we're bankrupt. Has the Fed been printing more gold? Anyway, after the players do that stupid scene, they can cross this bridge and get towards the Indigo Sanctum. But there's a problem here. This door is meant to be locked. It's locked by something that cannot be picked, but instead you have to deal psychic damage to the lock in order to unlock it. This is bad. I think this is bad dungeon design because I want the players to get in there. I think that would be good. That would progress the story. And there's no real gameplay in trying to work out this puzzle with the lock. There's no stakes. Now, if instead this lock were a trap, oh, that would be scary, wouldn't it? Then we had some stakes. Can you get through here without taking damage? Or if we're in a scene where these ashen whites actually attacked the players and they chased them down here, and we're trying to see, can you deal enough damage to this lock to get through before the zombies get you? That would be interesting. But just putting a lock there is, who cares? Who cares? So I'm saying you should leave this unlocked and then the players can just go down to the Sanctum. When they enter, Ruxithid, who is up here, is already aware of the players. He is clairvoyant about the happenings in this dungeon, and he greets them as if he knew that they would arrive. And he gives an evil speech saying, "Hey, why don't you tie yourselves up and go wait with the other prisoners who are going to be gloriously sacrificed to greater gods? Isn't that good?" Of course, the players will say no, and then we can begin combat. And this combat is a little strange. What's going to happen is the goblin here is going to start flying around. He's zipping about, but he activates this statue as a shield guardian. Shield guardians are really, really tough. They're really good against magic, and they heal at the start of every round. The trick is, the solution to this puzzle is that if the players ignore the Shield Guardian and instead attack the goblin who's flying around everywhere, then he can no longer issue commands to the Shield Guardian and it becomes inert. But that means that your job is to communicate that situation to the players through your descriptions. So make sure that you are speaking deliberately. At the start of every round that the Shield Guardian has a turn, describe it mending itself. And every time the Shield Guardian acts, make sure that Ruxithid is giving a command. It says, walk over there that far and then slam that guy into the ground and then walk over there and do this. It only acts directly under his commands. If you've made it this far in the video, I do have a favor to ask you. I have secretly made a podcast. Haven't told anybody about it. I've just been letting it grow by itself. It's all about game design in TTRPGs and it's called Start a Quest. You can find it on YouTube. Just look up Start a Quest or here's a link. Just click this video. I am very, very proud of the podcast. So much so that this is the only time that I felt confident enough to share it with you. And I'd love to hear your thoughts about it.